In the news tonight, the Barbados Government moving to safeguard the country in light of increased world crises. A new mobile app to be launched for the NISS. Bahamas Tourism officials keeping an eye on hostilities in the Middle East. And in sports, the Windies share honours in their first test with Australia as 14 wickets fall on one day.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you so much for tuning in. In our top story tonight, with the escalation of international crises rearing its ugly head, the Mia Amor Moti-led administration is moving swiftly to shelter Barbadians from social and economic rain clouds. Deputy President of the Senate, the Most Honorable Senator Elizabeth Thompson, says government is taking steps to construct an economic umbrella which protects the society. She says one such measure is government's intention to borrow up to $500 million to be used primarily to fund the liability management operation and to repay a portion of central government's debt to the International Monetary Fund for the external fund facility. The Deputy President was speaking on a resolution relating to the External Loans Act.
Senator Kevin Boyce asked the question, why now? The answer to the question, why now, has to do with the fact that there are wars and rumors of wars. There is saber rattling and there are bombs dropping. The level of uncertainty in the global economy makes it mandatory for the government to go to the marketplace to secure its fiscal position in the event that there is an international crisis and rates escalate. That's the simple answer. You do not wait until, if the car wobbling, the wheels wobbling, the engine's sputtering, and things are going wrong, you do not wait till the car breaks down in the middle of the rain and say, Lord have mercy, I never got an umbrella.
Senator Thompson says the loan will eliminate the need to repay principal to the IMF from July 2025 to June 2027. She further adds that it will reduce government's borrowing rate from 505% of the quota to 395%, giving the administration room for emergency borrowing. Meanwhile, Minister of Energy and Business Development, Senator Lisa Cummins, says government is also seeking to protect the country's fiscal space through the early repayment of approximately $142 million of the principal maturities that are due to the IMF.
The operation is meant to free up approximately $372 million in net terms for the remainder of 2025 through calendar year 2026. So over the next 2 years, it gives Barbados a buffer, a cushion, a risk mitigator of $372 million. This significant reduction in outflows from the country will also help the government and the central bank that is responsible for fiscal management to ensure that we can maximize our reserve levels over the period, to boost our resilience to external shocks, and to support our work so that we can benefit from continued upgrades from the international agencies.
However, Opposition Senator Ryan Walters says he's not supporting the resolution since he does not agree with government's borrowing habits.
We will not support it because the leader of government business said that this will free up $482 million of space. Oh, the economy is growing, and the other places said they have a surplus. We have 7 months of reserves, but yet we are unable to pay our debt. And furthermore, we are now putting ourselves in a worse position by incurring additional costs. This is something the government is choosing to do this. Nobody is forcing them to do it, Mr. President. This is a voluntary action that will cost the taxpayers.
Well, there's an appeal tonight for insurance regulators to communicate clearly to the public about risks associated with underinsurance. The call is coming from Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment, Ryan Strawn. He says policyholders must be advised that when an item or assets is insured for less than the actual value, they can be left with a financial shortfall if they need to make a claim, as the insurance payout may not cover the full cost of repair, replacement or rebuilding. Minister Strawn addressed the issue as he delivered remarks at the opening of the Caribbean Association of Insurance Regulators Conference at the Hilton Barbados Resort.
People believe that they could trick somebody, but of course when that risk materializes, there's a problem. And therefore the choice of products being offered is going to be important for us to be able to ensure that when risk materializes as they are, that there is not this public discourse about mistrust or mis-selling with respect to insurance companies, and then they ask, well, what are the regulators doing about this? Because ultimately that's what it comes down to. What is the government doing about this? And therefore we must have a very aggressive conversation with our citizens, with our businesses across the region, as to why it is important to get proper valuations, number one, and to be able to ensure that you have the right coverage.
Minister Strawn says government has been having important conversations with the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility.
Something that we are going through to ensure that we understand that yes, we have insurance in place, but do we have the right amount of insurance in place for what we are paying as government? And we've been having this conversation with CRIF because, as we have seen in the last 7 years, the evolution of the storms are creating more and more damage, but their model isn't necessarily covering what is happening with respect to what's on the ground. And then the gap between their immediate coverage and what is being covered by the rest of the sector, we need to close that gap.
The Barbados Police Service is on a manhunt for another escaped prisoner, and they're seeking the public's assistance in locating Bruce Wayne Omar Chandler, 40, of no fixed place of abode. He escaped the holding cells at Central Police Station about 1:40 p.m. after being remanded to the Barbados Prison Service Dodds until July 21st. Chandler is approximately 5 feet 9 inches tall, of dark complexion and slim build. At the time, he was wearing an off-white blue shirt and long blue jeans. Any person knowing the whereabouts of Bruce Chandler is asked to contact CID personnel at Central Police Station at telephone numbers 430-7189 or 430-7190. They can also contact the police emergency number 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477 or the nearest police station. And members of the public are also reminded that it is a serious offense to harbor or assist wanted persons, and anyone caught committing that offense can be prosecuted. And police are also seeking the public's assistance in locating Romario Adrian Payne, also known as Mario or Rusty. The 28-year-old, whose last known address is 17E Haynesville, St. James, is approximately 5 feet 7 inches, slimly built, and has a brown complexion. Romario Adrian Payne is advised that he can present himself to the Criminal Investigations Department's Northern Division at District E Police Station in Speightstown, accompanied by an attorney at law of his choice. And coming up on Newsnight, we hear about tomorrow's National Symbols consultation. Stay with us. The National Emblems, Symbols and Celebrations Advisory Committee is tasked with examining if citizens are comfortable with the current national symbols, especially with Barbados holding Republican status. To this end, the committee will be hosting a consultation, and joining us now is Caleb Brathwaite, who is a member of the National Emblems, Symbols and Celebrations Advisory Committee. Good evening, Mr. Brathwaite. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Lisa. Thank you very much for having me.
So now tell us, why are we asking citizens if they're comfortable with the current national symbols?
Certainly. As you would know, and Barbadians home and abroad would know, is that this country would have entered into a Republican status in 2021. And what the government of Barbados, through the cabinet of Barbados, would have done is to set up the National Emblems, Symbols and Celebrations Advisory Committee to basically to be able to chart the course, to start it rather, to find out what Barbadians think about our current national emblems, symbols and celebrations. Is the coat of arms still relevant today? Is the pledge still relevant today? All the things that represented what Barbadian identity was pre-Republican status, should we continue to chart that journey now that we are in Republican status?
So, Mr. Brathwaite, if people decide that they are not comfortable with the symbols as you outlined, what then is the next step?
Well, Lisa, as you rightfully said, that there's going to be a consultation tomorrow. It is a consultation. It's about to hear what Barbadians home and abroad have to say about the emblems, symbols and celebration. It is Barbadians' choice. If Barbadians believe that we should still continue to chart the course, whether it be in terms of the pledge, whether it be in terms of the flag, whether it be in terms of the coat of arms, then we will continue to chart that course. So I urge Barbadians to come out tomorrow to tomorrow's public consultation, which is going to be held at the Queen's Park Steel Shed, 5:30 to 9 p.m. and to have their say.
But if they say that they do not want those things, what then happens after that? Once the consultation wraps up, the consensus among Barbadians is we don't want those things anymore. What happens next?
Well, what would happen is that the comments that Barbadians will provide to the public consultation, which should be held tomorrow, or on the online survey, is going to be made up into a report. That report is going to be submitted to the Cabinet of Barbados, and it will be up to the Cabinet of Barbados to make the determination on where that goes from there.
Okay, and quickly remind us, where will the consultation be held and what are the alternatives to people who can't make it in person?
Certainly, the public consultation is going to be held tomorrow, Thursday, June the 26th, at the Queen's Park Steel Shed from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's also going to be streaming online via the Government Information Service YouTube page, and there's also a national online survey that is being currently circulated among the population that could be found on the Government Information Service website.
Thank you very much, Caleb Brathwaite, the member of the National Emblems, Symbols and Celebrations Advisory Committee. The TVET Council has provided a pathway for graduates of the Barbados Construction Gateway Training Initiative to take their training to another level and earn their National Vocational Qualification and the Caribbean Vocational Qualification. Minister in the Ministry of Training and Tertiary Education, Sandra Husbands, says this will assist people in gaining employment anywhere in the Caribbean. She says investing in this particular training can equip individuals with much-needed competitive skills to facilitate their personal and professional advancement. She was speaking during the graduation of the Construction Gateway Training Initiative, which saw 852 young people across cohorts 5 and 6 complete their practical training.
Barbados recognizes the emerging technical skill sets that will be needed to compete with other countries who have recognized this need and taken decisive action to fill this void. And consequently, our ministry has formulated to develop an aggressive, focused program of national training, reskilling, and upskilling to build the base of economic growth. And this is to make Barbadians responsive to the challenge of the elimination of traditional jobs caused by the digital revolution.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Sports time now. Let's head over to the sports studio where Damien Best is standing by with the details. Good evening, Damien.
Kamal Kamabach and Megan Best are the men's and women's champions, respectively, of the Barbados Senior Squash Nationals. Playing at the Squash Centre in Marine Gardens, Kamabach was pushed all the way by Darian Ben, while Best outplayed Margot Pro in the women's finale. Megan Best and Margot Pro in the white skirt battling for the senior women's title. Two stars of the modern era. We expect the rallies to be intriguing. Best with that drop shot, the angle lethal. Pro returned the favour by setting up Best and making her work double time, asking her to fetch it from the backcourt. Pro proving to be a worthy adversary. Takes another point with Best out of position. but it was Barbados' #1 player, Megan, who would take the first game at 11-7. Kept on her toes, but finding a way to get the job done. Pro unable to retrieve. Into the second we go. Some of the rallies nearing 2 minutes. It was a true test of concentration. Pro with the error into the tin at the base of the front wall. Point best. Strategy to each point and some luck in between. Best not enough pace on the return. Pro with the delicate stuff. Halfway through the second, Best using her power kill shot off the front wall. Pro attempting the complete opposite with the drop shot and was outfoxed. Best on a roll. In fact, she took the second at 11-5. Best awarded the stroke on the call for interference. No fireworks in the third. Best pulling the strings. Pro desperate to find an opening. Not at home for the backhand. Megan going on to close out the senior women's title 11-2 in the third. Takes the match 3-zip over Pro. Well played indeed. On to the senior men's encounter. Darian Ben in the black versus Kamal Cumberbatch. Cumberbatch snapped up the first 2 games. A couple errors from Ben, but he also had some shining moments. Cumberbatch edging his opponent 11-9, 12-10, working the corner pocket. In the third, Ben not willing to surrender, benefits from the Cumberbatch error. More orthodox this time, the play of his own making. Cumberbatch jammed against the glass, Ben taking it 11-6. Can he replicate that in the vital fourth? Players forcing each other to stretch and find the right shot. Cheeky from Ben. Cumberbatch responds, cooking with the kill shot. Ben fractions too late. This was one of the high points of the encounter. Ben in overdrive. Cumberbatch missed the cool. Plays ping pong in the corner, but it ends in disappointment. Point to Ben. He was starting to look really comfortable. Ben again, right place, right time. Cumberbatch stranded late in the piece. Cumberbatch eager to get to the finish line. Ben from left to right. Cumberbatch goes aerial with the smash. Ben floored. Tied at 10-all. Which way will it go? Ben aiming to force a fifth. Looking difficult, but it wasn't to be. Cumberbatch cool under pressure, delivering the goods, taking the senior men's title 11-9, 12-10, 6-11, 12-10. Excellent entertainment.
In business tonight, we hear that a mobile application is being added to the National Insurance and Social Security Service. The disclosure from Minister of Labour and the Third Sector, Colin Jordan, as he addressed the design thinking workshop of the National Insurance and Social Security System at the Hilton Barbados Resort today. The minister, in a wide-ranging address, urged all concerned with the development to be frank and open in their deliberations so as to afford all Barbadians to benefit from the initiative. Let's hear more from Trevor Thorpe.
The Labour Minister called the app a quantum leap for the NISS, and while admitting we are living in a dynamic and changing world environment, we are touched by everything, whether it comes from government or the private sector. He said people no longer need to wait for information, and the mobile application will address just that, as it will be available to the public on their mobile devices. This is being viewed as an important step for the NISS.
The building, the constructing of the application is a development that will take some time, and it will take some time not because we are going on this slow boat to China, as we would say, but it has to take time because if it is to reflect properly your views and what you expect to get out of it, then we have to be careful to listen to what you're saying. And those in the technical areas will tell you that after listening, then you have to work out how do you craft the solution to fit what lay people have said.
The minister told the audience, made up of both public and private sector persons, that the initiative is an important step for the National Insurance and Social Security Service in particular, and Barbados in general. He called on them to share all information that will be of benefit to all.
The application will only be able to reflect your views if your views are on the table. That may sound like an obvious statement, but I have to say it because too often we do not put our views on the table. The other thing that I want to say, and I'm not the technical person, but I've been through too many of these, particularly from a private sector perspective. The question that you feel is a foolish question, that you are hesitant to share because there are a lot of people who you feel are intelligent around, is really the question that some of them want to ask and they feel the same as you. But it's also the question that when it is asked may open a whole new perspective on the discussion.
The mobile app will also help to keep employers honest.
I'm asking that you, on a regular basis, check your information to make sure that what is being deducted is being paid over. I'm asking you to check the information to make sure that the fact that you may not have deductions, money is being deducted, that you recognize when that happens. If there are delays in accessing your benefits, that you're also in a position to keep the organization honest.
Minister Jordan had high praise for the work of the Inter-American Development Bank and the other partners involved in the process and told participants it's a development for the people. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is powered. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
We're heading straight back over to Damien in the sports studio for the second half in sports. Damien.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lisa. Well, it was an epic battle and one which the spectators enjoyed as Kurt Allen defeated Randy Bennett to be crowned champion of the Alexander Clark Invitational B-Class Road Tennis Tournament. Playing last night at the Dighton Power Road facility in Bashaw, Allen needed 3 games to secure the trophy and the $750 top prize. A big final showdown, Kurt Allen clashing with Randy Bennett in the white trunks. Allen up 3-2 early on. Bennett was moving ultra smooth, content to keep the rallies going from forearm to backarm, then the drive stretching Allen. However, Allen looked ruthless and agile, producing a gem to leave Bennett without a chance. No worries for him then in the first game. Bennett lucky to escape the sow. Allen 1-0 up, 21-10 the scoreline. The final really came alive in the second. Allen asking questions of Bennett and bringing the spectators along for the ride. Bennett, though, kept his cool, refocused and stayed true to the fundamentals, waited for the right time. Allen losing his balance. In fact, the very next play was a repeat. Bennett now up 9-5. Another strategic move. Bennett going on the attack, comes inside, and the power on the drives paying dividends. No clear-cut advantage. Deeper into the game we go. Allen missing his mark. 15-14 in favor of Bennett. Skip ahead 2 points later. Allen responds with a gem to lock the score at 16. Amazingly, Allen at game point lost the plot and got sloppy. Bennett from being down 17-20, rallying to tie the score at 21 apiece. Bennett completing the comeback to level proceedings at 1-1, taking the second 23-21. In the all-important third now, Bennett and Allen, they know what's at stake. Bennett pings it off the net. Allen leading 7-1 at another. Bennett in a deep hole. And more pressure applied. Allen, backarm return, and then swift change to the forearm. He's on a roll. Trailing 11-19, Bennett reduced the arrears, coming to within 1, active with the footwork, and the rally poised. Allen error. But Allen had done enough damage and would close out the contest, taking the third, 21-17. He is the champion of the Alexander Clark Invitational B-Class Road Tennis Tournament. Well, the European Union and the National Sports Council have teamed up to launch the National Sports Council's Get Active Primary School Road Tennis Competition. Over the last couple of days, players and teams from various primary schools across the island were in action on the courts of the VIP car park at the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium. During the opening ceremony, a presentation by the outgoing European Union ambassador to Barbados, Margorjata Vasaleska, was made to a couple of players from the Elite Youth Academy who just completed the common entrance exam. Liam Paul and Nicholas Allen, both of Charles F. Broome, received $200 that is towards the school fees at their new school. They'll be attending from September, Combermere and Harrison College respectively. Former acting assistant director at the NSC and Adrian Donovan also presented a token of appreciation to the EU ambassador.
I'm very happy to see that there are many kids here with the blue t-shirts as members of the EU Barbados Elite Youth Road Tennis Academy, and I hope that establishment of that academy will continue to help to identify and nurture the talent in road tennis. So I hope many more of you will be joining it. We actually managed to bring road tennis to Europe during a meeting of heads of government of European Union 27 member states and heads of government from the Caribbean. We tried to promote it. I know those efforts will continue.
Well, the NSC's Deputy Director Emerson Bascom thanked the EU ambassador for helping to export the sport of road tennis around the world.
We thank you for the financial and other offers that you've made to road tennis in Barbados. Again, let me also recognize the major contribution made by Mr. Adrian Donovan, the former Assistant Director of Sports here in Barbados. We really appreciate the hard work that he put in to make this a reality.
Well, a lone goal from Ramon Griffith was enough to earn Brighton Stokes Limited the 2025 TMR Footorama corporate title. Playing in the final at the BFA turf recently, Brighton's defeated TMR Sales and Services Limited 1-0, with Griffith's goal coming in the 9th minute. Brighton's also went away with the most of the individual awards, with the MVP of the tournament being Kenny Moore, Best Defender Barry Skeet, and Best Goalkeeper was Tazio Riley. TMR's Renico Gibson was awarded player of with the most goals, and he had 2 to his name. Meantime, in the third place clash, Goddard Catering Group defeated Scotiabank 3-1.
Well, the Barbados Police Service has issued a correction and apology concerning the bulletin issued for an escaped prisoner. Police say it is Bruce Chandler who they're looking for. Bruce Chandler escaped police custody while being transferred from the cells at Central Police Station on his way to Dodds Prison. Police Communications and Public Affairs Officer Acting Inspector Ryan Brathwaite has issued an unreserved apology to singer and entertainer Barry Chandler and to the public for the error. The acting inspector says the police service recognizes the seriousness of the error and the distress it may have caused those who were directly affected. And that's our news for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night.